Hi, and welcome to the Smart Women Summit. It's my pleasure to bring this show to you and sharing how my guest speakers journeyed from a professional walk to entrepreneurial path. I'm your host, Vanessa Kariba, and I'm really excited to introduce the award-winning Jenny Garrett. I'm excited to get right in today. Hi, Jenny, how are you and how you
I'm
doing
really
today?
well, Vanessa. Thanks so much
That's
for
good.
inviting me to speak today.
Now, did I get your title right?
Yes, well, I am an executive coach and a leadership trainer. I think it was in there.
I like the award-winning bit. Tell us a little bit about that.
I've won a number of awards, which is really lovely. I won Women's Coach of the Year in 2014. I won Women Trailblazers Award last year, and I was awarded Companion, is the highest honorary award from the Institute of Leadership and Management. That was
Wow.
last year as well.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
fascinating. That's something to follow and go by. Now, just getting into the show, and I'm really delighted that you're here because that really this show. I'm hoping that it encourages women that who are on a professional journey and they're realizing at this time some people might be furloughed, some people there's all sorts of changing happening. So I just wanted to get the insights from experts like you, where you started your journey as a professional and how did you convert to an entrepreneur, as a business owner?
Okay, so I used to be a marketer, believe it or not, and that was my first career. I had senior marketing roles. I worked for Hamptons International, a big estate agency.
Yeah.
I worked for Schroeder Leasing, a big corporate. And then my final role was at Ashridge Business School, so a leading
Yeah.
international business school. And I really loved my role there. It's actually not too far from my home, so I could manage the work-life balance and I enjoyed the role. But one day, a colleague who's now a really good friend came into my office and just said, "Where next? Where are you going with your career?" And I remember thinking, I'm here, I'm doing my job. Why should I want more? And
Mm.
she was saying to me, you can get a bigger budget somewhere else, you can get a bigger team somewhere else. Come on, push yourself. And it was kind of a good push in the right direction. She also said to me, well, maybe you could start training people in marketing on some of their programs.
Wow.
But that didn't appeal to me. At the
Mm.
time, I was a very nervous public speaker, something I do almost every day now, but at the
Mm.
time, I couldn't see myself speaking.
Mm.
And I didn't want to leave where I was because actually I'd have a long commute and I didn't want that because my daughter was very small at the time.
Okay.
So then she said to me, what about coaching? She said, people come into your office, they come away motivated, they come away with actions, you're a really good listener. Maybe you could develop your coaching skills. And I didn't know much about coaching. And to this day, I actually don't know if she was just flattering me a bit because I had an L-shaped office. And
Yeah.
I think people used to come into my office to hide. So they'd come in, of
Yeah.
course, I'd be talking to them. But I
Yeah.
think sometimes it was just no one could find me if I'm
Yeah.
hiding in Jenny's office.
Mhm.
But my organization was very supportive and they gave me the coaching training I needed. They supported me to get coaching qualification. They supported me to get qualifications in giving feedback on personality questionnaires, all sorts of
Yeah.
things, which were really good for my own personal and also professional development.
Mhm.
And I was able to start coaching on some of the leadership programs that Ashridge had. But when I said, I just want to be a coach, I just want to be
Yeah.
doing this all the time, they said no. They said, actually, your role as a marketer. We're happy to indulge you slightly to do these other things, but that's not your job. And I felt really stuck. I felt really kind
Wow.
of boxed in.
Uh-huh.
I found this thing I really want to do now. I love it more than I love marketing. I can't do it all the time. And I didn't know what to do. I felt really stuck. And probably some of the people watching here will have had the same experience. You want to bring
Definitely.
money in, you
Yeah.
need to bring money in. You've got a job, yes, but you really want to do something else. And the only option to do that job seemed to be running my own business or being freelance. And it wasn't something that was natural to me. I know some people would say, I've always been entrepreneurial. I was buying biscuits from Woolworths or somewhere and selling them to my friends.
Woolworths.
Or yeah, Woolworths, old
Old
time,
school.
old
Yeah.
school. So whatever, but I wasn't that child. I was sort of kind of good girl, working up the ranks, doing all the things that you're supposed to do. And to think that the only way I could do what I wanted to do was running a business, I found really frightening. So I got some coaching. As a coach, I got some coaching. And between me and my coach, we kind of hatched a plan so that I could go down to 4 days in my full-time job, ask if they would let me do that. And on that fifth day, actually focus on seeing if someone would pay me to be a coach.
Very practical.
Yeah, see if I actually liked it, set a target to see if I could actually make any money, because money, I did need to earn
Yeah,
money. And so targets for me are really key. Just,
yeah,
you know, putting out there, set a target for yourself. If you're going to work on a business, focus your time. And
yeah,
I really did dedicate that last day to focusing on my business. And within a year, I had won a contract, which meant that I had a few days a month coaching. That meant I could step away from this full-time job of mine and start building my business.
mhm,
So I didn't just take this leap not knowing what I was doing. I did have a contract, which meant that I always knew that for 6 months, I had a number of days every week where I could do the work that I
yeah,
wanted to do, and it
yeah.
was going to cover my bills and everything. And that was that 13 years ago now, since I left being employed, and it's grown and developed from there, from me providing one-to-one coaching on leadership programs to me providing leadership development programs, and that growing and developing. So it's just grown, really.
Do you know what I'm really inspired about is the fact that you was a marketeer, and
Mm,
then you use that experience, and a friend nudges you, and that happens, isn't it? You either have that little inner voice, or somebody just sort of externalize what you're thinking. You probably was
yes.
attracting it anyway, and then you use that, and you really get that taste for coaching. And then
Mm,
what I really love is the fact that you use that one day, and then you
yes.
build, which is, these are the lovely steps that people can look at as an option. You know, you don't
Mm,
have to just leave your job, you
no.
can do things. And I could even remember myself, I went from 3 days to 3 days working, and I was working as a consultant. And somebody trains me how to be a consultant. They just shadowed and gave me work. And then, you know, I got my first big contract, and it within the first 3 months, I made my entire salary, and I was like,
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
And then you think, what can you do next? And you know, as you say,
Mm,
winning the contracts. So that those practical steps are really, really helpful.
yeah.
Um, I guess like any business owner, you're 13 years into business,
Mm,
and you must have had some really great breakthroughs, but
yeah.
before those breakthroughs come through, you have a few challenges. Is there
Mhm.
any insights that you could show us on your journey that would help our audience today?
Yeah, I think you need to know your worth. And one of
Oh,
my big challenges was charging people,
yeah,
because, you know, I love coaching. I can see the power, the transformation it makes in people's lives. I would do it if I wasn't being paid.
yeah,
However, I do
yeah.
need to be paid.
Um,
And one of the things that I realized was I was giving my services away for free too much, because I just loved doing the work. And also, even just thinking about how much I charged, I hadn't really calculated it properly. Because as a business owner, most of the time, you're maybe spending a third of your time actually doing the real work. The other third is probably marketing. And then the other third is admin and all of the other stuff you have to do. So actually, a third of your time has to equate for 100% of your salary. And when you're charging, you really need to work that out, because you might just think, oh, this is a great hourly rate. Oh,
yes.
that's going to be good.
Mhm.
But you don't have all of the hours to spend doing your work. Plus, there's taxes. Maybe you want to pay someone to support you. Maybe you need to pay for your technology, or maybe you need to pay for your travel. All of these things add up. So, one of my big turning points was recognizing that I had to charge for what I did, and I had to charge a decent amount for it to cover 100% of my time, and also that people value what they paid for, actually. So
Yeah.
if you give everything away for free, you'll find people don't turn up,
Yeah.
or people don't value it so much, or they're, you know, on another call at the same time they're supposed to be speaking to you. But when someone's invested financially as well as mentally in your service, in your product, then it's different. And so actually you owe it to yourself to charge the correct amount. And you know, if you charge and you end up with a surplus, you can do great things with it. And what I find is women do great things. They donate, they do some pro bono work, They set up a charitable arm of their business. They do all sorts of things when they have a surplus. They don't just indulge and spend it on yachts or champagne and all of
Yeah.
that sort of thing. They put it back into their community in some way to support others. So don't worry about the fact that, oh my goodness, I might earn too much money. Get to the point of earning too much money and then think, yeah, I can do things with it. Think about Bill Gates, Richard Branson, all of these people who have a surplus. They end up doing some philanthropy, if I could say it. They end up doing some really good stuff with it. So get to the point where you have too much and then you can give it back.
And that's such a key point, you know, your finances and what you do. And especially, I love the way you explain the third.
Yeah.
We do our marketing, but that time needs to be accounted for.
Yeah.
So there's nothing so good as a cash flow, that having that and knowing exactly what you're doing month on month, what it costs first before that, and then flowing it out into your business.
Yeah.
Talking about profits,
yeah.
Could you remember all those 13 years ago when you started to make profit? But not like it's easy to make profit. It was easy for me to make that first 3 months, but it was the consistency that really was the I can continue doing this. And there must be something for you that along your path you did it. Could you tell us when you started making profit and when did it become consistent?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question for me because, as I said, I did win a little contract for the first 6 months, which meant that I immediately had some sort of consistency coming in. And I'm kind of a cautious person, so I wouldn't have been able to take the leap without that. I think I'm going to answer your question a different way, which is what I found is you have to be consistent. And what I find with people starting a business is that they try something, doesn't work after a month, they try something else. And what people are watching you and they're saying, what are they doing? Oh, you're a fashion designer and now you're baking and now you're doing this. And it's all right if it sort of that you've managed to get your brand so we understand what you're doing. But if there's too much change, people don't trust your brand. So I think being consistent in the messages you put out in the world, day in and day out, even if you're not getting anything back, people are watching. And what I found was that it took a long time. So I would tell you that people I spoke to, just say December 2000 and whatever, sometimes they didn't come back to me for a year. Yeah. And I found there's quite a lag in my work that, especially with the larger organizations, they take a long time to come back. So although I can't say what point did I break even, because for me, I didn't have to put a big financial effort in investment out there to get the money back. So I would almost say from the start, I had a pretty consistent income coming in, but it wasn't necessarily me generating it. So I worked for other organizations who would do all the business development and they would bring me in to support their work. But what I will say is my consistent marketing meant that I started getting a lot of word of mouth. I started getting a lot of people responding to what I was doing. And that has led to consistent business. But I would say I've got a year lag. So if we say it that way, maybe a year after I started my business, did I start really reaping the rewards of all the effort I had put in. And it's really tough because you're putting things out there, you're sending social media messages, you're emailing people, and you might get nothing back. But you have to consistently do it day in, day out until it suddenly just starts to shift. And I would say it's probably a year for my business.
That's so key too, because the change element, it's so easy when you don't get those results. We're in this for a marathon, aren't we? We're not here for the little sprint.
Absolutely.
And if we are thinking like that, that's where the change comes about. So I really get the message about what you say and your brand is going to go before you, and you reap what you sow.
Yes, absolutely. And you have to keep sowing, even if you're, this community is very important, and network.
Yeah.
One of the early things I did was I tried to find support around me. So I created something called a jelly. I don't know if you've ever heard of
No,
jellies.
I haven't.
A group of people in America came together in their homes. They were like individual freelancers, and they
Okay.
always had jelly beans, and
Oh, I
and
like
they
that.
just worked at someone's kitchen
Mm,
table,
mm,
just so once in a while they felt like they were
I
part
love
of
that.
something. You know, if you want to ask, oh, how do you do that on Word, or have you heard of this? There's no one to ask when you work on your own, is there? But it
That's
was like
such a good
getting people
idea.
together to actually ask, you know, whatever comes into your mind. And I found it on the internet, and I realized they do them globally. And it's just a free thing that everyone comes together and just works together once a month. And I went to my local community center, said, would you give us a room for free? They said yes. And I just put it out there.
Awesome.
And once a month, I'd have these people, we'd all come together, we were all starting a business, and we all supported each other. And that sense of community to keep yourself going is very, very important. So that really helped.
That springs off the point, actually, as you say that, is that it can be isolating, and you
Yeah.
just really, you know, we get into a place of you just got to work. And I love the idea of bringing that community together, so you all kind of just encourage and empower
Yeah.
one another. Really
Yeah.
good, really good. Let's get into some fun. If your business was a color, or is a color, what would you choose and why? And the reason why I ask this question is because I find it so interesting how people work with color and how it reflects them in their leadership or what they do. Could you tell us a little bit about what color you choose and why?
I'm going to be greedy and choose two colors. There's always
Go
someone like that,
ahead,
isn't there?
go
And I'm
ahead.
going to be the
We've
difficult
had a
one.
few that's chose
Yeah.
two.
Okay. So there's the first is red, because I love red, and I think it speaks to what I want to do. I want to empower people, and I want them to be go-getters. I want them to increase their visibility, be assertive, and get what they want out of life. So the
Mm,
red is kind of that energy and that drive and that push that they
mm.
get. But the second color is green, because
Oh,
how I do things is in a very holistic way. It's never just about one focus. It's always about what else is going on for
mm,
you. And if you're trying to push your business forward, of course you need to focus on results and get things done. And you've got to, you know, put yourself out there. But you also need to look after yourself. You also need to know what your purpose is and
mm,
why this all matters.
mm.
You know, you can drive to get somewhere, but if you lose your family at the same time, then you haven't really won.
Yeah.
Or if you burn out because you can't, you know, and then you can't run your business, then again you haven't really won. So for me, it's the kind of red, driving, pushing forward, being out there, networking. But there's also this green, which is about looking after yourself and thinking about the whole. And those colors represent my business. And although they might seem like opposite, they really complement
No,
each
that they really do. They really sound like they do. I love the red. I'm using red at the moment.
other. Okay.
And purple would be my other one because I
Ah,
just like that sereneness. And
right. Purple is the color of strong women, they
oh,
say.
really?
Yeah.
And you've got purple on today.
Yes, I have. Yeah,
I just
yeah.
want you to feed off that question though, and I think you've really picked up on a great point about care and burnout in
Mm.
business. Is there anything that, like, I mean, you know, is there anything that you do in your business that keeps it, if you like, calm and holistic and keeping you in the right place?
Yeah, I think this is such an important thing for business owners. And I'm so pleased that you brought it up. It does change for me what I do in order to maintain my own well-being. But
Mm.
what I've done is I've incorporated into my business retreats. So I actually run retreats
Right.
now, and
Yeah,
I find they really refill me. We actually ran our first
I
virtual
like
retreat last weekend,
that.
and I just feel so energized this week as a
Yeah.
result of engaging in that. And that's about just taking a step back, thinking about what you need for yourself, reflecting on your own, you know, your own energy levels, but also thinking, what do I need to refresh? What does refresh me? And we can lose sight of that. I think especially now in these COVID-19 times, people who are working are mostly just sitting at a computer screen the whole time. I
Yeah.
don't know if you noticed, I'm actually standing up. So
Oh,
I've
I do.
started now just doing stand up things. So I'm
Yeah.
not sitting down the whole time, and just so I can move my
Yeah,
body a bit
yeah.
more.
Got to be more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. And so it's kind of thinking about what you need, and also nature I think can give you so much to refresh you. If you're lucky enough to have a balcony or a garden, then going out and getting some fresh air as much as you can, or being able to walk to a park, and just nature has a lot to teach us, I think, about resilience, about strength, about regeneration, yeah, and also how insignificant we are, I think,
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
You know, whether we're here or not, everything, the
Yeah.
world will still turn, the sky
Yeah.
will still be
Yeah.
blue. So for me, walks and nature are really good. Regular retreats, in other words, regular taking time out to rebalance myself. And definitely I do mindfulness, I do breathing techniques, and I try to eat well. I'm very careful about what I put into my body now. Most of the time, I'm not saying I don't have the odd chocolate biscuit and all of that stuff. I'm not saying I'm a perfect person, but I try to be
Yeah.
very conscious about that.
Yeah. And that's really good, because we get into the highs and lows. And as you're starting business, it's about taking this advice on and just thinking about these things, even as you write your plans, thinking about that the whole self, and not just how do I make money, but how do I look after myself. And the point that you're making, if you lose your family or something happens, could you still run your business? Will it still be able to run? So really, really key questions there.
Yeah.
I mean,
One last thing on that, sorry, is that I journal, and I find journaling very powerful.
Yeah.
And once a week I journal my gratitudes. So
Yeah.
I journal the things that I'm thankful for. I review the week, not just on
Yeah.
a business level, oh, how much business did I bring in? What did I
Yeah.
invoice? But also, what am I thankful for?
Yeah.
And also, one thing I've incorporated into my journal is the little wins. So just say, I don't know, you're walking along and you found £1, or just say someone buys you a coffee or does something, just some kindness for you. I put those in because it makes you feel abundant. My word for the year is abundance. And it's like we always
I
have
feel
more
that.
than we expect. We always
Yeah.
get more than we expect, but we've got
Yeah.
to count those blessings. So I do that as well.
I'm so grateful that you said that, because it really shows your growth too, doesn't it?
Yes,
The
absolutely.
growth of yourself and the way you see the world. Did you say we're so insignificant? If you look up in the sky, look how small you are.
Yeah.
It's so true. I really resonate with that. And when we're in this COVID-19, and hopefully we're going to be through it and we're going to be on the other side. Who knows what's going to be on the other side? And we're talking about business startups. So people will be saying, well, why should I do that? Why should I why should I start a business when I can stay in my job? Or they might say, well, I need to start thinking about another stream of income because this doesn't look too safe for me. What advice would you give to people watching today on maybe business startup at this time?
Yeah, at this time, I think this has given us a wonderful opportunity, to be honest. We're all at home more than we've ever been. And although we might not be sleeping well and it might not feel like there's a lot of time, we have been gifted some time when you'd be on a commute, or there's no traveling time happening. And so there is some time. So I would take this time out to really reflect on your why. There's a great video by a man called Simon Sinek, Sinek, and it's a TEDx talk, and he talks about understanding what your why is. And your why is what would get you up on a Saturday morning in the freezing cold if you didn't have to get up. And I don't mean going to the toilet or feeding yourself, or the phone ringing. I'm talking something that just gets you up because you're so motivated. What is your why? What do you live in service of? Or another way to think about it is, if it's at the end of your life, what do you want people to be saying about you, the impact or what do you want to say the impact of your life was? And I think this is the time to think about that why, because starting a business for the sake of it, I don't agree. I don't really think that's the thing to do. I just want to start a business. You need to have something that deeply connects you with it. It's hard work. It's relentless running a business. It's not all rosy. And you only do this if you know what your why is. If you know, this is my purpose, why I know why I'm doing, I know the difference I want to make in the world. This is so important to me that I'm willing to sacrifice time, energy, money, time with family and friends for this. And I think spend some time really working on, what is this why? What's the difference I want to make in the world? how do I want to make it? And when you have that clarity, then start sharing it. Because one thing a boss said to me, which I've always held on to, he said, share your vision and people and the universe will conspire to make it happen. So once you know what your why is, start telling people, and it will start to help you attract the right people around you who will start to help you think about how to make it happen. So that would be my starting point. Know your why, start sharing your why, and then see what happens from that. Because you don't create your idea on your own. You create it with the help of other people's thoughts and energy. You know, if you say, I want to start a clothing business because whatever the reason, start telling people, oh, I'd buy that. Oh, I know someone who, you know, that's what starts to come together.
Yeah.
And that's where I would say is a starting point. When you've been talking about it, of course, there's, you know, do some market research. All of those sorts of standard things are important. But I think the core is this why, and to start talking, just seeing kind of response you get from people, and where that leads you.
Yeah, I love your wisdom. It's not, you know, we've had different speakers talk on this topic, and we acknowledge that technology is, you know, we can get access to anyone around the world, but it's really quite deep and quite showing of your character that, you know, when you think of a why, you're in it for the long. You're not just sort of, let's just pick this hair, let's go here, let's do the standard things. And you even lead to that book title, Simon Sinek's book. I can't remember what it's called, but he's got
Start with why.
There you go.
Yeah.
Just as we wrap up, and it's been lovely talking to you, I know that you have a free gift for our audience. Would you like to tell them a little bit about it?
Yeah, so definitely for this really difficult time, I think we all need to build our resilience. And as business women, business people, actually resilience is a big thing, because we often have caring responsibilities, whether that's children or elderly relatives. And it might be that we're leaned on by friends, by colleagues, and we really need to work on our personal resilience at this time, because that maintains our well-being and that will help us be immune to the terrible illnesses that are around. So what I did was I got together with 4 experts, and we've produced 7 videos, 7 days to a more resilient you.
Oh, good.
Just a sort of 1 minute to 3 minute video giving you a tip and a tool on how you can build your resilience. And so at the end of the 7 days, you've got some real tools in your toolkit to help you through this difficult time and beyond.
That's brilliant. And it's great that you're thinking like, this is what's going to be needed as we get through this place, and a good time to start now. So guys, I'd encourage you to grab that the video, and what I'll do is I'll put the link at the bottom of this show so you guys can grab onto that. Jenny, it's been a pleasure
Great to speak with you, Vanessa.
Connecting with you. Really enjoyed the wisdom and the nuggets that you've given us today. And hopefully I'll be going off and starting a little jelly, even though we do them online. I like the idea of that being in the home, to something more closer to your community. Thank you so much.
No problem.
And we'll talk again soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much for inviting me.
No worries. Bye-bye.